So hi there, everyone. I'm Chris Robson. I'm Senior Director of Data Science here at Humanate, and I'm thrilled to be here today alongside a true legend in the world of consumer centricity and customer experience, Shep Hyken. My job is all about pushing the boundaries of advanced insights. One of the things that really excites me is generative AI. I've been working with these technologies for many years now, and we've been cooking up some exciting new uses at Humanate. We've also unearthed some really interesting insights on the topic. As you probably know, Shep is a powerhouse when it comes to customer-centric culture. He's worked with some of the biggest names out there, and his presentations are nothing short of mind-blowing. We've even teamed up with him to collaborate on some recent research, which we can't wait to share with you. So stay tuned as we dive into the world of generative AI, ChatGPT, and how it's going to shake things up for brands, employees, and most importantly, customers. This is going to be fun. So Shep, as someone who's written, researched, and used generative AI, how do you think it's going so far?
Well, first of all, thanks for that amazing introduction. You used some words that are very flattering and would make my mother very proud. So thank you very, very much. So how are things going? I am so impressed with how technology over the last 10, 15 years has increased to the point where it is now. And what's fascinating is it's like a hockey stick. If you're looking at a graph, that's a term that's not, I guess it's a sports analogy, but basically we've been increasing ever so slightly. And then in the last year or so, boom, it goes straight up with the generative AI and ChatGPT type of technologies. And I'm just blown away. And in the customer support world, which is where I live, a lot of customer service and support, the way it's being used today is great. The only thing I want to caution companies about, maybe we'll get into this a little bit later on, is do not use it to replace human-to-human interactions, because the best technology in the world can't replace the best relationship builder in the world, and that is the human-to-human connection.
Absolutely. And we will definitely talk some more about that. But I'd like to pick you up a bit on that hockey stick, because as somebody who's been working these technologies for a long time, and I have been for years showing friends party tricks and things that the technology can do. What's been really interesting is the way that back last fall, when ChatGPT was released, and all of a sudden everybody became aware of it. Tell me a little bit about how the public sees it now that we've gone through that hockey stick. Where are we? Is there this even viewpoint, or are people still a bit confused?
Right. So in January, I do my annual research where we do our survey, and ChatGPT came out in late November. And I don't think very many people in January really knew what it was about, unless they were involved in the industry or an industry that used it. And just 2 months ago, so we're doing this in September, so probably in August, early August, I had a meeting with 7 other individuals. These are my alternative board of directors. We represent each other and help each other and support each other. We're non-competing businesses. And I asked, how many of you are using ChatGPT? And a few, maybe 3. You know what it is? And then one of the guys said, what in the heck is ChatGPT? Didn't even know what it was. This is just in August, okay? Mm-hmm. I thought everybody knew what it was.
Right.
So not only did he not know what it was, he didn't know. I mean, he didn't use it, obviously. Many people are using it and in their businesses and enjoying the experience. And some people don't realize they're using it, which is kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, one of the questions we asked on the survey, and I don't know if I can find it real quickly. What's your familiarity with ChatGPT? I've never heard of it. I've never used it, blah, blah, blah. Well, 41% of the people that we surveyed said they had heard of ChatGPT, but never used it. And almost a third of boomers have never heard of ChatGPT. That's the older generation. And Gen Z is leveraging it the most. And 29% said they're using it for both business and personal research and work, which is pretty impressive. So in my world, I do so much writing, and I actually wrote a great article titled something like 10 ways to use ChatGPT as a writer. And the only thing I said is, before I get into 10 ways, let me tell you the one thing not to use it for. Don't let it write for you. Okay. It makes mistakes. It pulls from sources that still need to be confirmed. But let me tell you, as a digital assistant, it's unbelievable. And that same type of thinking as a writer can be transferred to, I'm a marketing expert and I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me write better copy. So you write your first version and you put it in the machine. And you say, can you give me some better versions of this? Can you give me some versions that would be more better worded for Gen Z versus a baby boomer? So can you give me SEO optimized versions? In the customer support world, can you give me, can you help me come up with the right answers to some of the questions that we're being asked on a regular basis, so we can make it easier for customers to get those answers without having to be calling us, being put on hold, having to explain it. Maybe if we had to transfer them to another person a second time, maybe a third time. So there's so many great uses. I'm so excited about it. And by the way, what I've just shared with you is 1/1000th of the capability that this technology has for us.
Absolutely. And we're finding that too. And it's interesting you say that. One of the things we did right at the very beginning, when we first started to realize that there was an appetite for using this type of technology, was to set what we called our guardrails within the company, that we made sure everybody did. And one of those guardrails was no copies to go out to clients unedited. Okay, we did not want people to say, hey, I'm just going to fire off this email with something that's been generated. It has to be edited.
By the way, another great use of ChatGPT is to help you write better emails.
Yes. So when you think very specifically about the areas of customer centricity, about customer experience, when you're talking with the companies that care about this, how are you broaching this subject? How are you talking to them about it? How do you position this technology, and why should they care?
Well, there's a misunderstanding that this technology can replace the human experience. It can't, at least not yet, and I don't see it in the foreseeable future. What it can do is support companies to give customers quick answers to easier questions, and allowing the employees to, the customer service reps, salespeople, whoever's on the front line, to help a customer with a deeper, more complicated issue, if you will. And so I think that that's a real important piece, is to understand the balance between using the technology and the human-to-human interaction. You can't replace it. There was, and it was really even before, I believe before ChatGPT was even released, Frontier Airlines here in the US made a bold move. I'm not saying it worked or it didn't work. I think in the beginning it was a shock to people, but no more human support. I think that's a big mistake, but it's a bold move, and I think it's a move that you're going to see happen more and more. Again, I still think it's a mistake at this point in the game, and it could be a long time before you can completely, and it may be never before you can completely eliminate people from the equation. Think about when, and I know I'm jumping off, kind of running down a rabbit hole here, but think about when ATMs came out. I believe in the 1960s, it was Barclays Bank in the UK that put ATM machines out there for, I guess ATM is automated teller machine. So it's not an automated teller machine, but they put ATMs out there, and they said, this is great. You can now get your money and make deposits. You can do it at 2 a.m. It doesn't matter. The bank doesn't need to be open. And people said, okay, we don't need tellers anymore. But when's the last time you walked into a bank where there wasn't a teller, right? So just as ATMs did not kill the teller business, the MTV videos did not kill the radio star. So, I love to use that analogy. So Frontier came out with this bold statement that we're going to eliminate people-to-people customer support. So get what would happen. I'd be sitting there at the airport. I'm just going to use me as an example. And all of a sudden I get a text message. Your flight's been canceled. Okay. This is before even the announcement from the gate agent that's there. Oh, my flight's canceled. Here are 3 flights that you can choose from that will get you there today. Choose the one you want, and we'll flip you over to that one. Now, that seems like a pretty good way of using it, right? And by the way, that technology is not just ChatGPT. That's been around forever. I remember getting off an airplane a few years ago, and I get an announcement, we're really sorry your luggage didn't make it. It's on the next plane. So if you'll give us the address of where you're staying, we'll deliver it within 4 hours of the plane landing. That's a pretty good use of automated digital technology, isn't it? But what if I'll use the airline example of the flight's been canceled. What if it's like, oh my gosh, these flights won't work because I needed to be there sooner. So what I need to do is cancel my ticket, but can you help me find another airline that can get me there? And sometimes, by the way, depends on who you're talking to. A good customer service rep will say, let me just see what, if I'm, and I've had this happen. I typically fly American, but let me see what United or Delta has. You know what? They have a flight. You know what I can do? I'm going to give you full credit for this. You need to go over there. It looks like there's seats available. You can buy it. They help me, right? That's not going to happen with this type of system, at least not yet. So now, wouldn't it be nice if I could say, I could text back, none of these are going to work. Can you help me find another airline that will get me there sooner? That's probably a capability. I don't know if the airline wants somebody leaving their airline to go to, but that's a capability that is out there today. So if you can articulate it, chances are it can be programmed.
So one of the things I'm hearing with what you're saying that is even these amazing technologies, which I think we're both really excited about, don't change some of the basics of customer service. What somebody's trying to achieve, they're trying to achieve. And if you can understand that, then use the right technology for it when you do it.
I refer to this. I just wrote an article about this. I titled it Speed to Happiness. Okay. When a customer has a question, a problem, an issue, anything, all they want is to be happy with what happens on the other side when they get their help. The faster you can make that happen, the better. And if an automated or digital process makes it better, quicker, faster, by golly, do it. But at the same time, if it's confusing to a customer, if it's cumbersome, if they've got to go through a lot, I'll give you some great examples. Amazon is wonderful at this because if I've got a problem, I go to Amazon, I'm not on, it's not in front of me, but if I go to the website, customer support or, have a problem or a complaint or whatever, you click on that and it takes you through a number of questions. And at any given time, if you're not comfortable and you want to talk to a rep, you don't get their phone number and call them. They ask you to put your phone number in. And about the time you hit enter, almost immediately that phone rings and it's a recording saying, this is Amazon. Please hold. The next available agent will be with you shortly. And usually within 15 seconds, an agent comes on and then helps me. But in the meantime, they have forced me to start off with a digital process. And until I wasn't happy with it, I'm staying with it. So this is what I believe companies need to do today. And let's go back to the airlines again. Go way, way back years and years ago when they came out with the idea that you can create you can make your own reservation without having to make a phone call. You can go online, you can put in your departing city, your destination city, the day you want to go. It's going to pull up all the flight options it has for you, all the different prices. Click on the one you want, choose the seat you want, make the payment online, done, right? Perfect. Now, I don't have to call. I don't have to wait on hold. I don't have to pull out my credit card and give it to somebody that I don't know, over the phone. I think that's a great system. But people didn't know how to use it. They hadn't even heard of it. So what did the airlines do? By the way, where do you go? Now, back in the day, it was probably, I don't remember how long ago when I actually have this in one of my books, but it was a long time ago. I can't remember. Maybe you go to the Yellow Pages. Okay. When's the last time you looked at a Yellow Pages? I don't think there's a whole lot of them around anymore. Phone books. No, you go onto the website and you get their phone number. Wouldn't it be cool if right there in the phone number is your question, are you getting ready to call us about this, or this? Well, click here and maybe we can answer your question without you having to make the call. Okay. But what the airlines did is they said, if you would be willing to try our new technology, which is online reservations, we're going to give you 500 extra bonus miles or points. Okay. Same thing with checking in online. So what they did is they gave people an incentive to do it. And then once the tipping point was there where a lot of customers were using it, they pulled away the incentive because they didn't need it anymore. The reputation and the technology had become ubiquitous with easiness of making a reservation and with the airline. And I think that's what companies need to do. They need to train their customers to use online digital support for help in simple issues, allowing the agents to take care of the more complicated ones.
Right.
So
now,
I think that answered your question. I'm not
it
sure, but I tried.
did. And yes, and I think that's really interesting to frame it in what people. I love the expression. What was it? Time to happiness.
I called speed to happiness.
Speed to happiness. I love that way of looking at things because that really makes you focus on what's really needed to be achieved. Because happiness comes at the end.
Yeah.
That's
if you
great
think about it, people say to me, what's changed in the customer service world? And the answer is nothing. What do you mean nothing? We have all these technologies, ChatGPT. I go, let's think about it for a moment. Customer has a problem, okay, or a complaint or a question, and that's where it starts. And in the end, they want to be happy. What's changed? It's still that way today. It was that way 50 years ago. It's going to be that way 50 years from now, right? Maybe 500 years from now. Now, there is a change about how we go about to that endpoint, and that's where we get to constantly improve the process. Right. So, to your point, and by the way, speed to happiness. I've been talking about speed since the 1980s. I remember going to the grocery store, and it used to be a cashier would take your item, they look at the price, they key it in. Well, then one day scanners came about and they just scan it. Boop. That's fast. They're getting people through the checkout line faster, right? So speed has been there all along. And my friend Jay Baer, and if you don't know Jay is an amazing guy, and he wrote a book. I think do I have a copy of it right here? Oh yeah, there it is. It's called The Time to Win. It's a little tiny book. He believes that if you're going to write a book about the using time and speed, it should be a real quick read, and it is. It's a little book. It's like a miniature book, and that's the whole point. Speed to happiness is, how quickly can you get people through any friction that they might encounter. So if I've got a customer service issue, eliminate the friction and get me my help as quickly as I can.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier, you mentioned the research that we did together on awareness and acceptance of some of these technologies. And particularly you called out the differences, really the generational differences, which I guess in many ways we shouldn't be surprised about. I mean, we have just invented a magic homework machine for Gen Z, and they are certainly excited about that. I would have been when I was a teenager. But one of the interesting things there, if there is this difference in acceptance, what does that mean for companies who are trying to create a great customer experience? Because it does mean that it's not uniform across their customer base, and some people are going to be more accepting than others. What advice would you give companies who are trying to struggle with that?
Yeah, and the research we do every year ourselves is we look at that difference in the preference, and still today the phone is the biggest preference. I mean, so what do we need to do to move people off the phone? Not because we don't want to talk to them, but because we know we can create a better experience for them if they would consider the digital option, and that is to train them and teach them. So the generational differences are obvious. The boomers grew up using a phone. It's hard to break habits, and really, it's only been in the last few years that the ability to do a digital experience is better. Although I say that, I think even today, most boomers don't pick up the phone to make an airline reservation because they know they've been taught it. And once again, I go back to that comment I made before, teach your customers how to use it. Gen Z and millennials, and by the way, Gen Zs aren't just, kids still in school and college. No, Gen Z is now a legitimate buying power because I I don't know. Gosh, I have to. I'm great with numbers when I'm looking at them. So without looking at them, you have to use my memory. Not so good. But I think there's still that younger generation, and same with the younger millennials. Millennials is almost a 20-year range of demographic. You have to break them into older and younger millennials. So the younger millennials and Gen Z, they don't know any different. When I grew up, there was no mobile phone. Okay. They have a mobile phone they've been using since they were 1 year old, and if the parents gave it to them, they started playing with games on their iPads and all that and electronic. They grew up with these digital, it's a digital mindset is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very mindful of the fact that I think you and I could talk about this for hours, and probably we should aim to do that at some point. So, but given that we're probably coming to the end of our time, and this has been really interesting, so thank you for that. Maybe just one last thing, if you're thinking about when you talk with people who are maybe worried about this disruption that's happening, especially from the customer service, customer experience angle, what would be the main takeaway you would like them to have about this disruption?
Well, they're worried for a couple of reasons. And by the way, anything new worries people. And remember, you didn't remember, this was long before we were ever born, but somebody came up with film. There's a camera and film, and all of the artists in the art world said, oh my gosh, it's over for us. Okay. It's a disruption. Maybe it is a disruptor, but it isn't an eliminator. As I mentioned, video didn't kill the radio star and ATMs didn't kill the tellers, just as I don't believe this digital experience is going to kill many jobs. And we've done research to find out that 60 some odd % of companies that use AI actually are still increasing their employee base. Only 9% say that because of AI, they've been able to eliminate jobs. Just 9%. Let me tell you, you can look at why companies eliminate jobs all the time. And that's right in line with any other reason, to eliminate jobs is, things change, and maybe technology, maybe it's not just technology. Maybe there's a new product you come out with and you don't need people that are experts in the old product. So it's real important for people to constantly be up-leveling their skills. So that's, if you want to remain relevant in the workplace, you can't do what you did 20 years ago. I don't care. It has nothing to do with technology. It just has to do with the way the world changes and advances. So you need to advance at that same level. Companies need to recognize there's nothing to fear. Now, there is a fear of privacy, and that's the same thing. We go onto Facebook and we look at something, and the next thing you know, everywhere we are, there's ads for that product that we looked. Or maybe I say we go on Facebook. We go on the web and we look at something, and the next thing you know, we're on Facebook, on wherever, and there's ads. Like, how do they? To me, that this is why they have the whole compliance thing of we have cookies and all that. Same thing's going to happen with ChatGPT and related technologies. As the consumer, not just companies, but as everybody starts to use these things, there's going to be certain regulations that are put in place, compliance issues. There will be criminals out there that will find ways to use anything against you. And it could be a phone call, an email, a deep fake video of your kid, looks just like you, sounds just like the kid. They're asking me for money, and where do they want me to send it? That's going to happen. The criminals are going to figure out how to use it, right? Absolutely. It's no different. It's all going to be managed. And I think we need to stop fearing. We need to start embracing and embrace what's working best for our business and customers combined. And when we can find the synergy, I think we're all going to be really, really happy with the result.
Well, that's excellent. Now, I think that's a great note to actually end this conversation on. And Shep, I thank you for giving us your insight and your wisdom here. And I look forward to actually continuing the conversation.
I do as well. Thanks for having me here. Thank you very much.